All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalana. I am Jenna Cottrell. Dan Fates is still on paternity leave, but will be rejoining us very shortly. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast if you enjoy our content.
I just want to add something right here as we start. Someone commented on the video and said, why is Mike laughing hysterically at the start of every video? Do I laugh hysterically?
No, but you do your little like...
That's the TV fake laugh.
That's true. Someone said it looked like I was a vampire, so I was like, dang, okay, tough crowd. I was like, this is August. You should see me how pale I get in December and January. All right, that aside, 5 takeaways today from practice. Let's start with some of the guys we talked to today. Yeah. Ed Oliver, he's a guy who just signed an offseason extension, 4 years, $68 million. The Bills putting a lot of faith in Oliver, but I really liked his perspective today on how he feels now heading into that.
Yeah, he said, I feel like a rookie again.
Yeah.
And he's got to prove it. And I think, look, that's what Eric Washington said he wanted to see from Ed. And it seems to be that mindset because there are guys that get paid and then they're like, I got paid. It doesn't mean they don't play hard, but there is something about that pressure that goes with a contract being due. Now, Ed was in that spot, and the Bills made that decision maybe a little earlier than some people thought, but it showed a lot of faith and the money. So Ed's sitting there going, I'm that guy, and I'm going to prove it out on the field. I love that he said he feels like a rookie because I think they need him to be that kind of guy on the field.
Absolutely. He said he feels like it's his rookie year. He's like starting over, starting fresh. There's no doubt that there's got to be... I would imagine emotionally I would feel a lot freer. And he kind of talked about how like you have the money, you now have the experience as well that goes along with it, and you know your place and that they want to put their faith and belief in you. So I feel like you'll want to see or kind of see that on the field. But I did love, we asked him like, did you spend your money? Like what would you buy? Any horses? And he was like, he was so calm. I don't know what I would do with that much money, but he was like, I took care of my family, my mom, my dad, my child, my future children. Set up the family. Got to respect that.
You do. He also was a first-round pick, number 9 overall. So he had already gotten money. But in the world of pro sports, there's money, then there's money.
Yeah.
And he got the money with the second contract, which is good for him. It fits the mold of what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Draft, develop, re-sign. And they did that with Ed. He's got to be really good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to be. They have said to him, you are a mainstay. They let Tremaine go. He's gone. That was interesting, I thought, too, when he was asked about a different voice behind him.
Yeah, I think Josh Reed of WIVB asked about, like, what's it like not hearing Tremaine Edmonds' voice as the middle linebacker calling the plays? And Ed is like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's definitely different. He joked about how, like, even when Tremaine was exhausted and mumbling, he still knew what he was saying. But he talked about now having the 3 different guys who have been out there. Like, he now is starting to understand them, all that stuff. But it was pretty funny to know that he's like, yeah, I knew what Tremaine was saying, and I could kind of zone out with it.
He got his mumble.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily get the new mumbles.
Yes, which is fair. I feel like I know your mumbles and Dan's mumbles.
We just go, the thing, whatever.
That means all right. It does it not?
It does.
Yes. Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But he did sort of figure that part out. He was complimentary of the way these guys have played. But by the way, don't kid yourself. Like, that is important. Guys, you don't think about that sometimes. They're in the huddle relaying what the defense is supposed to do. And sometimes that's very impactful on the D-line, like how they're supposed to attack. And it's loud. The guys are tired.
Yeah.
You miss what they say. Like, I'm sure he's leaning next to him going to Daquan Jones like, what did he say?
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, that happens in a game. So I found that to be kind of interesting with Ed. But I think he's adapted pretty well. But like I said, with this D-line, they have said, Ed, you're our guy.
Yep.
So while he's trying to prove himself, they need him to prove himself. They need him to be really good.
They put a big investment in him. And that, I mean, the money talks, let's be real. So there are expectations and the eyes that go along with that.
Yep.
All right, we also talked to Taylor Rapp today, who, was signed this past offseason. He was 4 years with the Rams, won a Super Bowl in LA. And it's funny because we're like, how do you see yourself fitting into this defense? And he's still like,
Yeah. Well, I think he's trying to figure out a role. He's behind, obviously, Poyer and Hyde. But I think he's too talented of a player that they will find
1,000%
plays for him. He is versatile. And sometimes I think being versatile can work against a guy where they're like, well, we can move him here, move him there. I think they'd feel very confident if he had to play at safety, if either one of those guys was out. But I found something really interesting. I asked him about coming to the new team and all, and he's like, I felt more, I think he said comfortable.
That was my question.
She's been on fire with the questions. He felt more comfortable after the OTAs and here at camp than he did in 4 years in LA.
I was shocked when he said that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a starter there. He was a main guy for them.
Yeah.
So I found that interesting, and his, obviously, enthusiasm for playing with Poyer and Hyde and watching those two guys together, I thought was great.
I think sometimes we forget the name that Poyer and Hyde have outside of Western New York. Like, we know them as, like, you know, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. They're the safety tandem. They're fantastic. But for a guy like Taylor Rapp, he's like, I'm playing, like, I'm learning from these guys, and they are in rarefied air almost talking about them. So I thought that was really interesting. Him kind of still trying to find his place in the defense, but I totally agree with you. His skill set, his versatility, his physicality, like all of these things, you're going to want to see him on the field. And the Bills are still getting there in terms of that, but make no mistake, like, you are going to see number 20 out there.
He's built like a small linebacker, isn't he?
Totally.
He's bigger. He's bigger than Poyer,
yeah.
bigger than Hyde, physically a bigger guy. He loves process. He loves the process.
Yeah, he dropped the process a couple times.
Yes, he said, I'm a big process guy. Yeah. Loves the way culture, McDermott and Bean, like, he's made to be a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
But you have a guy that talented, even when you do have two great safeties, you're going to find ways to get him on the field. This team has always done that. That's why we say Taron Johnson played 92% of the snaps last year.
Yeah.
They'll find a way to get him on the field. Now, I don't think Taylor Rapp's going to play 90% of the snaps, but I think they're going to find a way to play him. I think he's going to play.
I completely agree. Another guy we talked to today, Ken Dorsey.
Yeah.
And we asked him quite a bit, one of which just about the backup quarterback competition between Matt Barkley as well as Kyle Allen. Obviously, statistically, Matt Barkley had a way better day than Kyle Allen did. But, you know, Ken Dorsey said, looking at the tape, what they go through, like those quarterbacks and the way they performed on Saturday against the Colts, he said it was graded the same way.
Kyle Allen's the number 2 quarterback. Matt Barkley's going to be number 3. There's a competition, unless it is horrendous for the next 2 games. This is why they brought Kyle Allen in, and they know who Matt Barkley is. Would they feel comfortable if Barkley had to play? Sure. Allen is younger, and they feel like his skill set fits more with them. And I think there was an overreaction to the way he played in the first game. And
you're telling me there was an overreaction in the preseason? Sorry.
Yeah, I think there was. Well, look, he's got to play better, but it's his first game on the field learning a whole new offense. So while it's nice, I mean, seriously, I saw it today at practice. I thought Allen looked a little more, Kyle looked a little more comfortable, depending on who they had out there. But there's times Matt Barkley's out there with 3rd, 4th, 5th string guys.
Yeah.
He does have a knack for sort of keeping it together, and certainly on the field he did. But, hey, look, I guess if Barkley went out there 14 of 15 for the next 2 games, maybe we'd have a different conversation. I'm going to say when they line up week 1, it's going to be Josh, Kyle, Barkley is the emergency 3rd. Is that a Dan Fates hot take there?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, that's why they've brought in other they've had Matt Barkley, and they've always consistently brought in other quarterbacks.
Right.
Last year it was Case Keenum. Like, they have Barkley. He's obviously able to operate the offense, which is what you would want in that pinch situation. But I think they want Kyle Allen to continue to develop. Of course they do. And I think it's just time on task. Matt Barkley has a lot more time in this Bills offense, knowing the play calls, knowing the personnel, all of these things. I think Kyle Allen, while you don't want it to be maybe as rough as it was at some points on Saturday against the Colts, I think that's a piece of him learning this offense. So I don't think it's time for the panic button or any of those things. I just think that sometimes, we talked about this on Saturday after the game, like sometimes there's moments that you see and those are either good or bad, but that's not a direct indicator of what someone will play like.
Yeah. Can I take a little audible here and we go to a 4th player here before we get to number 14? I think Osiris Torrance is starting at right guard.
I think that's fair. But why? I want to hear why.
Well, first of all, they don't give away anything in a lot of the interviews. We try.
Yeah.
But there's so much talk about Ryan Bates and his versatility and them getting him snaps at center. And I think they believe if they needed to, they could line him up at any of the 3 spots, which means he could line up at any of the 3 spots. I think Torrance, again, there's times we see, we're not supposed to talk about, you guys know, there's times guys are out there. He started in the game. Like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Started in the game the other night. I think they expect him to play. I think they want him to win the job because I think they have a real role for Bates too. But I think he's a young guy that they invested in and they want him to play. I'm saying now, this is lukewarm take, right? Not hot.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take.
No, it's lukewarm. I say he's starting at right guard.
I mean, they trust Bates. That's the
They
one.
do.
That's the one thing where you're like, that's the one thing that's holding me back from 100% being like 1,000% agree with you.
This is why it's a lukewarm to hot take.
Also, like, my math doesn't make sense, but that's fine. It
Yep.
never does for me. But I think they trust Bates, but
Yep.
I think the upside, and it's obvious, he's a second-round draft pick, what he could bring to this offensive line, all those things.
It's kind of funny. He's a quiet guy. There's so few. Don't you feel like there's a few quiet guys on this team?
I feel like there's a decent amount of quiet
Yeah,
guys.
well, Milano's quiet.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Like, I feel like a lot of, like, I think Taron Johnson's pretty
Yes.
quiet. Like, I think some people are just very loud.
that's true.
Like, true. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think in terms of you, me, and Dan, like, Dan and you are a lot louder than I am.
Dan's louder than me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a funny, I'm going to say it was a funny tweet of
Right.
the picture of Ken from Barbie, Albert Einstein, and then, was it from Oppenheimer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said Mike Catalana as Albert Einstein,
Smartest man in the world.
Dan as Ken, wearing like the
Well,
all
the
pink
outfit,
visor and
yeah.
all that stuff. And then I was, what's that guy's name?
I watched
He
him
was
in
in
Peaky Blinders. He was so
Fantastic in Peaky
He's so
Blinders.
good. It's a
Peaky
great show.
Blinders.
Blinders. Yeah, that's a good picture. It is pretty good. I have gray hair. It's not quite Albert Einstein gray. Dan does wear some unique outfits, maybe not quite to that level.
I have the hoodie on today.
Look at that for Dan.
For
Dan will be back. You can just feel it. He's on his
Yes,
way back.
I agree. All right, I can't remember.
Oh, I can tell you the last one. Breaking news today.
What?
Stephon Diggs dropped a pass. I'm not kidding. I'm watching him. I'm thinking every drill, every play, it feels like he never drops one. Today, Josh goes deep. He's got, I think, this is just a guess. It was a little distance away. I think it might have been Milano. He ended up on a linebacker right through his hands. Dropped it. And then he knew it was on him. Now, the very next play, he got into it a little bit with Taron Johnson. And
Keeping it spicy.
they went down and started pushing and shoving a little bit. Now, Taron had taken a little shot at Gabe Davis
Yeah.
the day before. So, and Taron being a quieter guy, but don't mess with Taron Johnson.
Oh,
He's got a
no.
streak in him.
Yeah.
And Diggs does too. So now that one got broken up pretty quickly. This was not like yesterday.
No.
But Diggs, I mean, when I say sailed right through his hands, you just never see that out of him.
Yeah, you really don't.
And he caught a pass today, and as he ran by me, I had my Elite camera, also known as an iPhone, and he's like, "That's a pretty good catch. Tell people about it," which is pretty funny. I'll have to tweet that out. But it was. He just catches everything. It was
Yeah.
just odd to see one go through his hands.
That is weird because I feel like we just have not seen that. I feel
Yeah.
like we talk about this and we have talked about it, but like this year, this season in particular, it just feels like it's up a notch. Like just his execution for the most part, other than today you mentioned, but like his footwork, his intensity, like all this stuff just seems.
Every drill, there's nobody guarding him. And that play, when he's like, "That was a great catch." For Diggs, it was like whatever, but
Yeah.
he's running by a camera, so he said it to me. And no, he's played at that elite level all the time.
Yeah.
He just does.
But
And
it
he's
seems
always,
almost more.
yeah. And I took that personally. I do. I think he watched Jordan like a lot of guys do, and he's like, "That's me. Go ahead, mess with me this year." And he's going after everybody. So
Yeah.
that's good news for the Bills, I would say.
That's great news. Something to note, Gabe Davis did not practice today. That was due to general soreness, so that's just something.
You can tell my dad joke.
You can tell it.
I said General Soreness. Remember him from the Civil War. It's General Soreness.
I said that was a grandpop joke.
Wait till my granddaughters are old enough that I can recycle all my bad dad jokes.
There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah.
All right, so those are our takeaways from practice today.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so. But I got to tell you, Sean McDermott, not only intense as a defensive coordinator, I see even more. Like, he lit up the third string offense today. They came out of a huddle, messed up. Like, I don't know, and I couldn't tell you specifically who he was mad at, but he was mad, and they were playing this godforsaken crowd noise. It is the same sound over and over and over again.
Screaming.
And he started yelling, and whoever's in charge of that was like off. And all you heard was Sean lighting somebody up.
Yeah.
And I think he's got that. I think being the DC has gotten that. He's always had fire, but it's more so. More
a little bit of edge. Even today, asking Ed Oliver, like, what's Sean McDermott, the defensive coordinator, like? And he's like, he's intense.
He's intense. Yeah, you feel it a little bit out there. And I think that's a good thing.
I agree. All right, thank you for watching. For Mike, I am Jenna. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend as well. And this is if you enjoy our content. I had someone saying, like, stop saying like, comment, and subscribe. Well, the thing is, we're a small YouTube channel, and we're trying to grow as much as possible.
Why do you want us to stop saying it?
I don't know. I just want to, like, if you enjoy our content, subscribe. Don't feel like you...
And if you have suggestions or a critique of Likely Jenna, just go ahead and
not
write
high.
it down.
Still not high. Or a vampire, so that's cool. I was like, read that last night. I was like, oh, dang. This is me tanned.
People take some shots. They do take some shots.
They do. It's okay.
That's all right. Most people are really nice. So
yes, and we always appreciate that. All right, and visit the Buffalo Plus store, buffaloplusstore.com. All right, thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus.